The holidays are painted as this time of joy and connection, but what if that isn't your story? What if that's not how you're feeling right now? Like, what if you're surrounded by people and you just still feel disconnected or alone? Or maybe you're physically alone and wondering why this time of year feels so heavy, or maybe you've lost someone. If any of this resonates with you, you're going to want to listen to this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about feeling like that feeling of loneliness that sometimes happens around the holidays and how you can find connection on your own terms. Welcome to the Hello Well with Danielle podcast, your weekly mental vacation for the daily grind for busy women who just need a moment to pause, breathe, and woosah. I'm your host, Danielle Washington, and I so wanted to do this episode on feeling disconnected and feeling alone during the holidays because I've been there. I've had some really dark moments during the holidays and no one knew. Like, I was just going through it on my own. I was feeling like I was here on this earth. No one cared. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel loved. And that wasn't a crowd of a big family that was still working. And everyone was like, oh, she's just good. She's still moving. She's still shaking. Loneliness can feel isolating. And it's a shared experience that many go through alone, but we're all secretly going through it alone. So many of us feel this way during the holidays, even if we don't talk about it. And I wanted to talk about it because I wanted you to know that you're not alone. And let me take a moment to pause right now and say, I'm not here to fix you. I'm not here to tell you, just cheer up. It's going to be okay. It's the holidays. It's the most wonderful time of the... Nah, that ain't me. I'm here to sit with you. I'm here to hold space for you in this moment, offer you some invitations of some ideals of ways you can feel a little bit more connected to yourself, to others, and to what matters to you the most. Like, I sometimes low-key hate the holidays because I feel so many people are going through it during these times. Like, you may be away from your family. I've been there, being away from your family. You may feel like you may have lost someone recently. Or you maybe just feel like you're just not aligned with that cheer and that, everything is amazing and rosy that everyone else seems to have. And for whatever the reason, sometimes, loneliness happens. And I invite you to recognize and validate your experience. Your experience is not going to be like mine, like someone else's. Your experience is your own. And it's okay to have your experience. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. Loneliness can feel unseen, that feeling of being unseen, that feeling of being not heard, feeling disconnected from your surroundings. And that's valid. Whatever you're going through, it's valid. People will say, you have the world. What are you talking about? You have this great job. You have this amazing family. How can you feel disconnected? How can you feel alone? How can you feel unseen? And when you're feeling disconnected already, and then you're having people tell you how amazing your life is, it's easy to feel guilt and shame for feeling what you feel. So, at this moment, I ask you to think about it and reflect with yourself. Let's sit with the emotions a little bit. Not too deep to where we're going deeper, but just to kind of like unpack it a little bit, just open the door slightly and just, you know, ask yourself, what does loneliness feel like to you right now? Is it like a physical sensation, emotional, or a mix of both? Is it something that's triggering it? Can you kind of pinpoint maybe where it started? And start slightly unpacking it. I'm not saying dive deep into this emotions of sadness, but just kind of like scratch the surface a little bit to kind of see, okay, what does loneliness feel like to me right now? And know that it's okay to feel this way. You're not broken. You're not failing because the holidays don't bring you all this joy and they ain't maybe for you. It's okay. I think it's also okay to reframe what we deem as connection. The holidays are a time when we're like, oh, let's be connected with everyone. But connection doesn't have to be traditional. It doesn't mean I have to be with my family. It doesn't mean I have to be out in the world wearing these bright colors and giving gifts and to always smiling. What if the connection wasn't about family at all? Or this big picture of this perfect tradition of the tree and all these other things? What if we reframe connection to be starting with connecting with yourself? Like last year, I did something different. Last year, I decided to reconnect with myself, but my younger self. My younger self had some really crappy Christmases because I always felt unloved. I always felt unheard, unseen. Even in a huge family of experiences, I felt unvalued to the point where there was one Christmas, I was like, this is going to be the last one. I don't even think I'm going to make it to this one. But last year, I decided to do something different. I decided to create my own experience. I bought my first tree. I bought gifts for myself. And I put, from Santa, from the Easter Bunny, from whoever, to remind myself that I can connect, and also a gift to myself from myself, to remind myself that I can connect with me. That connection I needed the most to feel something was to connect with myself. This was a season of connecting with me. And so maybe you do your own tradition. Or maybe it's just, that connection of calling a friend, writing in your journal, spending some intentional time in nature, or spending some time, let's keep it real, doing absolutely nothing. I love doing nothing, especially during the holidays. Because connection could be internal. And just ask yourself, what would it feel like to connect with yourself? To sit with your emotions, just to be, nothing to fix, nothing to do, no one to help, no one needing you. Do something that makes you feel alive. That connection of bringing that joy into your life can be the thing that helps you feel a little bit less disconnected, a little bit less lonely. So think about the things that bring you comfort, even the small, silly things, what makes you feel more like yourself, and do those things. One of the things I did today, because I was feeling a little bit down, honestly, was I went on YouTube and I watched past videos of one of my favorite singers, Rasan Patterson, doing a song, singing in concerts. And it reminds me of being in a concert hall, sitting there watching him sing, and he's like such a magical singer. Like no show is never, I've seen him probably 8 times now, if not more. No show has ever been the same. And so I can watch these videos and I'm transported to a time where I'm just like, I'm happy. It brings me so much joy to teleport myself to a time that I felt connected to the singer who I've been watching since I was a kid. And that was one of the ways I found connection, through song, through music. Other ways to find connection is just like little things. Like maybe it's giving back. Maybe it's helping other people fill that void that they may be feeling. Volunteering, donating your time, doing something that builds a purpose and connection that has nothing to do with other people who you actually know, but helping people, strangers, is a meaningful way to create that connection. So often, and I emphasize this, we don't know what someone else is going through. They could be smiling. They can look like they have it all together, but we don't know what people are going through. So a great way to kind of reconnect with other people and just to, check in is do something small. Send a text to someone you trust. And it doesn't have to be a deep message. You could just simply be like, hey, thinking of you. Connection can start small. You may need that. They may need that. You never know, but start small. Just say, hey, just thinking of you. Also, talking like I was talking about before, like creating your own traditions. I started doing this thing a couple of years ago and I still do it. And it's my own way of, again, connecting to the holidays in a way that feels meaningful to me is I make baklava. It's this amazing little, it's not a little dessert, it's a time-consuming dessert, but it brings me back to my neighbor who used to make this for me during the holidays. And when I want to feel any ounce of joy, when I think back to my childhood and Christmas, I can always count on Emily, my neighbor, making me my own special batch of baklava. And so that's how I have incorporated my own tradition of joy and connection. So maybe this year you cook your favorite meal. You watch a movie that you love. You light a candle for someone you miss. You do something, especially if you're grieving someone right now. Like think about maybe some of those connections you have with them or something they love to do or you did with them during this time. And that's a way for you to feel more connected to them and to honor that grief. We can't move through grief without being aware of it. I also feel at the same time, like, don't dive into everything. Sometimes we're not ready. This is not a time to try to fix yourself, not a time to try to heal everything. Maybe sometimes it's just a time just to like sit with it. Sit with what you're feeling. Sit with the feeling of loneliness. Sitting with the feeling of feeling unseen and unheard and disconnected. And if you're feeling you're at the point where it's feeling draining and overwhelming and it's getting to be so much, considering trying some like grounding techniques. Listen to a yoga nidra practice, do some yoga, shake the body. I also just love just doing some simple breathing exercises or kind of visualization where I will sit and I will imagine there is a string or a light pulling me down or connecting me all the way down from my tailbone into the earth's core, and I'm breathing in the earth's energy. I'm connecting and anchoring myself into the core of the earth, and I literally visualize that I am anchored and I'm grounded, and that helps me. So that's something that has helped me kind of in these spaces. But if you're at a space where things are getting really dark and really deep, please ask for help. Please call. There's hotlines, there's 911, there's so many different ways. If it's not calling a friend, call someone, do something. The world needs you. So I don't know. I guess I've been there and I understand. And I wanted this episode to be a space where I see you. I wanted to validate what you experience, because so many people will sit there and tell you, you should be doing better. You shouldn't be this way. You're supposed to be happy. I invite you to give yourself some grace. You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Feeling disconnected doesn't mean you'll feel this way forever. Maybe it's just a season. Like, loneliness, how can I say this? Loneliness feels heavy. It feels heavy, but it doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to define who you are. This season, give yourself some permission to create the connection that you need on your terms. Creating the connection that you need, not what someone else needs, but on your terms, in a way that feels true to you. Like, if I can offer one takeaway, like, just think of like one small thing you can do this week to feel more connected to yourself. Doesn't have to be anything perfect, big, grand. It just has to be yours. Like, this episode is one of many in this holiday survival series, because each episode is an experience that most of us or many of us have experienced at one point in time or are experiencing right now. So I hope to see you next week. We'll be exploring a little bit more how to let go of expectations and do the holiday your way. And if you're looking for more ways to connect and feel grounded and supported, like, you can join me in many different ways. I have some yoga nidra practices. Like, I have one I just did recently on how to kind of move through some heavy emotions. And I'm on YouTube. And if you're looking for a more one-on-one connection, there's yoga therapy sessions, there's Reiki sessions. I'm here. I've been there. I'm here. I know that I am here to help you. On that note, I will see you next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hello Well with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hello Well with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hello Well Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.